And now to present the 2009 New Jersey Hall of Fame Unsung Hero Award, please give a warm New Jersey welcome to the Commander of the United States Central Command, General David H. Petraeus.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. Well, good evening to all of you, and thanks for that very warm welcome. It is great to be back in New Jersey, and thanks for the opportunity to participate in this wonderful event. It's a true honor to be here and a true privilege to introduce the next inductee, the 2009 Unsung Hero, First Lieutenant Brian Brennan. Some of you may be wondering why a four-star general is introducing a first lieutenant. I'll explain our connection in a moment. But up front, the reason is that he is a true hero who served our nation magnificently in combat. He's a member of America's new greatest generation who not only displayed enormous courage on the battlefield, but also demonstrated tremendous strength in the face of adversity after being very seriously wounded when his unit was ambushed in Afghanistan by the Taliban in early May 2008. I first met Lieutenant Brennan in Walter Reed Army Medical Center about 2 weeks later. I was back in Washington for congressional testimony, and the Command Sergeant Major of Multinational Force Iraq, Marvin Hill, and I went to see our wounded warriors at Walter Reed, as we typically did while back in our nation's capital. As we neared the end of our visit, our escort stopped me for a moment and explained that the next individual we were going to see, Lieutenant Brennan, had been very seriously wounded in Afghanistan. He'd lost both legs, he'd had an arm seriously injured, and he had sustained traumatic brain injury and significant internal damage as well. In fact, our escort noted the lieutenant had been completely unresponsive to any stimulus since he'd arrived a week or so earlier. His was a very tough case, she warned us, and we would not even be able to enter his room as there were concerns about infection too. As we neared the room, we realized how desperate a case it really was. In fact, this was one of those extraordinarily sad moments when one is face to face with the terrible human cost of war. As I looked at the lieutenant propped up in bed, eyes wide open but seeing nothing, a completely vacant look on his face, I thought to myself that this is one of those cases in which it is hard to envision a happy outcome. It was a miracle that Lieutenant Brennan had even survived. In past years, in fact, before recent advances in battlefield medicine, it's unlikely that Lieutenant Brennan would have even made it home at all. As it was, he lay there in an essentially vegetative, catatonic state, having again responded to no stimulus whatsoever. So there he was, surrounded by family members who had tried to break through the barrier that had kept him from reacting to anything around him, eyes staring into infinity. For a moment, the Command Sergeant Major and I were taken aback. This was a very tough one. What were we to do or say? Well, we sought to express compassion, to share grief, to strengthen determination, and to hold out hope. Given that Command Sergeant Major Hill and I had been the leaders of the 101st Airborne Division during the first year in Iraq, we felt an enormous affinity for Lieutenant Brennan, who had been serving with the 101st when he was hit. So we made a little small talk with his family about our love for that historic division, how proud we were when we put the famous Screaming Eagle patch on our right shoulder, the shoulder on which one wears the so-called combat patch, and how Command Sergeant Major Hill would never even wear a black fleece jacket when it got cold. It took me 25 years to get a Screaming Eagle patch on both shoulders, he'd say, and I'm not about to cover them up just because it's a little bit cold. Lieutenant Brennan's family understood completely, and we asked what regiment he'd been with. The 506th Infantry Regiment, his dad proudly told us. That's a great outfit, we noted, recalling that it was the unit chronicled a few years ago in the great HBO miniseries, Band of Brothers. In fact, few movies or series have ever captured so well the camaraderie of an infantry company as did that series, and few have conveyed so effectively the fierce desire of soldiers in combat to avoid letting down their fellow troopers in what those who have been part of it term the brotherhood of the close fight. Well, after a little more conversation, we decided to try to talk to Lieutenant Brennan. "Air assault, Lieutenant," I said in a loud voice at the door of his room. "We're proud of you, big guy. Thanks for all you've been through, and thanks for the leadership you provided to our troopers." "Hey, sir," Sergeant Major Hill chimed in, "stay tough. Your men need you back. Keep fighting." There was no response whatsoever. And we could see that Lieutenant Brennan's parents and family were having to try hard to cling to some hope that their son might one day be given back to them. Our escort was starting to try to keep us moving, so I decided to give it one last try before leaving, calling out the regiment's nickname. "Currahee," I shouted, and there actually seemed to be a reaction. I whispered to the sergeant major, "Did you see something?" "I don't know, sir," he responded, "but let's give it another try." "Okay, Currahee on three," we agreed. 1, 2, 3, "Currahee," we shouted together. This time there was no question about it. Lieutenant Brennan clearly had heard us, and all of a sudden he started moving his head back and forth and beating the stumps of his legs against the bed. It was nothing short of miraculous, and all our eyes quickly filled with tears. It seemed that the Brennan's son just might come back to them after all. But the way ahead clearly was going to be tough, and there was no telling whether the lieutenant would ever comprehend what his eyes were seeing or recover the use of his faculties and limbs, much less regain his cognitive abilities and speak. But miracles do happen. And from that day forward, Lieutenant Brennan began a recovery that has been nothing short of miraculous. Day after day, through innumerable surgeries, physical therapy sessions, and workouts, he embarked on an incredible recovery. I tracked his progress after returning to Iraq, periodically checking with the staff at Walter Reed Medical Center, occasionally calling his dad, and then for the first time actually talking to Lieutenant Brennan on the phone. And then several weeks ago, some 10 months after our first encounter, he and his dad and I sat down together at Walter Reed. Lieutenant Brennan in uniform, and proudly recounting how he had been in the formation with his old platoon when they were welcomed home at Fort Campbell, Kentucky, after completing their tour in Afghanistan. That was a special moment for him, as was our meeting in Walter Reed for me, as is this moment, I think, tonight for all of us. Because this man is a hero, a son of New Jersey, who returns to you having sacrificed enormously for our nation, but having shown himself to have one of those qualities Americans prize above all else, strength in the face of adversity. So tonight I'd ask that you join me in shouting the word that brought Lieutenant Brennan's unconscious state and generated a response when all else had failed, the nickname of the 506th Infantry Regiment, Currahee. So all together, on the count of three, I want to hear you shout, Currahee. 1, 2, 3, Currahee! Ladies and gentlemen, the next inductee into the New Jersey Hall of Fame, it's 2009 Unsung Hero, U.S. Army First Lieutenant Brian Brennan.
Thank you very much. Good evening, General Petraeus, and thank you for that wonderful presentation. I just want to say thank you for this tremendous honor. It's my opinion that I may not be deserving of this induction. I just followed the path most patriotic Americans would have on that fateful day of September 11, 2001. While starting my senior year in high school, I had a burning desire to bring the fight to the enemy and serve my country. Subsequently, I only applied to one school, the Citadel, the Military College of South Carolina. Upon graduation, I was commissioned as a second lieutenant and began doing exactly what I had set out to accomplish, to serve my country. As for my future, I plan to uphold my commitment to the United States Army. I will accomplish this mission in 3 different ways. First, I intend to aid wounded warriors and their families through the organization established on my behalf called the Brennan Stands Alone Trust. The mission of this organization is to provide monetary assistance and support during their time of need. Second, I intend to be selected as a military liaison at the James A. Haley VA Hospital in Tampa, Florida. This facility is where I regain my cognitive skills. By performing the duties attached with this position, it will allow me to observe those wounded warriors who are in dire need of such assistance. Third, I hope to become an ROTC instructor at the Citadel, where I can motivate and mentor future leaders of the armed forces in tactical and technical knowledge, develop principled leaders, and educate service-oriented cadets on lessons learned from deployment overseas. I accept this honor on behalf of all servicemen and women who put on a uniform to go to work every day, including policemen and firefighters. However, I also accept this award for all the good-hearted and hardworking Americans that do not receive such recognition that they deserve. In closing, I am truly thankful for this tremendous honor. I ask you to please join General Petraeus, myself, and a representative from each branch of service in singing God Bless America. Thank you.